and thank you for joining us. I'm Cherie.
I'm Amy.
And we're here to give you the best up-and-coming information on all things psychologically related. Today, we have a very special news coverage on attachment disorders and adoption. Now, over to Amy for a better understanding of attachment disorders in general.
Thank you, Cherie. We will now look at the 4 types of attachment that can be seen in children: secure, avoidant, anxious, ambivalent, and disorganized. According to About Kids Health, caregivers who are consistently available, sensitive to their infant signals, and receptive and accepting of their distress tend to have babies who are securely attached with them. In contrast, caregivers with avoidant, anxious, ambivalent, or disorganized attachment tend to be less responsive to their baby's signs of distress and needs for comfort and protection. These caregivers are unavailable either physically, psychologically, or emotionally, and tend to be insensitive or unpredictable in their parenting styles. Now back to Cherie for the latest on how an insecure attachment can develop into a disorder, specifically how they can be seen through adoption.
There are 2 prominent types of attachment disorders that can be seen in children. The first one is disinhibited social engagement disorder, which is seen in a child as an excessive willingness to accept strangers who are not their primary attachment figures. Disinhibited social engagement disorder requires that the child is not well cared for. This is seen in relation to adoption under the circumstance that the child was mistreated before the adoption. A more prominent form of attachment disorder seen in adoption is reactive attachment disorder, otherwise known as RAD. Children with RAD can fall into 2 categories: emotionally withdrawn or overly social with strangers. This is a disorder that is also the result of inadequate caregiving, which may include institutional settings. An institutional setting in this case can be described as a holding placement for children before they are adopted. Adoption is seen all across the world. According to the Congressional Coalition of Adoption Institute, in the United States alone, over 300,000 children are living without permanent families in the foster care system. About 100,000 of these children are eligible for adoption, but nearly 32% of these children will wait over 3 years in foster care before being adopted. Recent research has shown that children who are put into institutional settings before adoption are more likely to result in attachment disorders. In other words, institutional settings may be detrimental to a child's attachment, whereas adoption can actually improve their attachment. Regardless of the stereotype that adoption could negatively impact a child's attachment, it has been seen that adoption is generally positive in regards to attachment.
Although adoption can be seen as a positive influence on attachment, there are still necessary steps that the adoptive family must take to ensure it. Here are some tips on building a stronger attachment within an adoptive family. First is to work on the relationship. Once a family chooses to adopt, it is a critical necessity is the quality of the relationship. Next is to be sensitive to their needs. Adopted children come from many different backgrounds if they are not adopted as newborns. Abusive families, death of parents, or lack on finances are all common. It is important to make them feel loved and secure, as they may not have had that during previous interactions with caregivers. Finally, get help. If attachment issues are seen early on in the adoption process, it is important to seek the help of a professional to work through the issues before it is too late.